Welcome to Small Biz Flash, where owners and managers get their briefing on small business news, trends, and insights to make better decisions and increase their business's value. I'm your host, Adam Hewitt. Thanks for joining me. There's a consensus among economists, CEOs, and small business owners that the economy is heading south in the coming months. As the Federal Reserve tries to battle inflation by hiking interest rates, economic activity declines. So on today's show, we'll start a multi-part series on how to survive and thrive the economic downturn. That's coming up right after the news roundup. All right, let's dive in. The rate of inflation last month was lower than expected. The Consumer Price Index rose 7.7% for the 12-month period ending in October. It marked the slowest annual growth rate since January. Inflation at the wholesale level also eased in October, as measured by the Producer Price Index, which was 8.0% year over year, down from 8.4% in September. That's definitely welcome news, but inflation is still at near a 40-year high, so economists caution we could be facing stagflation as we enter 2023. Consumers are keenly aware of the economic challenges. The University of Michigan consumer sentiment for the U.S. fell to 54.7 in November, the lowest since July. All components of the index declined from last month, but buying conditions for durables decreased most sharply in November, falling back 21% on the basis of high interest rates as well as continued high prices. The Small Business Optimism Index dropped 0.8 points in October to 91.3, the 10th consecutive month the index has been below the 49-year average of 98. Half of all firms report they are raising prices, and 1/3 of owners reported that inflation was their single most important problem in operating their businesses. You can find this report, as well as sources to other stories in the news roundup, by going to the links in the show notes. Hiring at small businesses declined by 1.94% in October, according to CBiz. The shrinking workforce suggests owners feared hard times ahead. The West was the only region of the country where small businesses added employees, and the Southeast saw the biggest losses. October marks the third month in a row companies have been shedding jobs. Small businesses are finding it more difficult to borrow money at all sorts of lending institutions, according to the October Biz-to-Credit Small Business Lending Index. Loan approval rates dropped last month at big banks for the fourth consecutive month to 14.7%. Approval percentages at small banks dipped for the first time in over a year to 21.2% in October. Non-bank lending also dropped to 27.3% in October. Small business owners, your finances are the cornerstone of your business. You need the bookkeeping pros at SBS Accounting and Advisors to keep your AP, AR, and financial statements on track. For 16 years, the good folks at SBS have been helping owners like you make better decisions and grow their profits. Go to sbsaccountants.com today to set up a free 30-minute consultation. Use the promo code FLASH to get 20% off your setup fee. Again, that's sbsaccountants.com. As I mentioned in the intro, it seems like a recession or a downturn or whatever you would like to call it is inevitable. Experts are all pretty much in agreement that we are on the way to some sort of bad economic times in 2023. So on today's show, we're going to start a multi-part series on how to survive and thrive this economic downturn. Many of you listening out there have already been through some of these types of preparations because of the high inflation that you've had to deal with over the last 12 to 18 months. But we need to start thinking about declining revenues and customers and vendors that might get into financial trouble themselves, or worse yet, even go out of business. So over the coming weeks, we're going to discuss a lot of ways to weather the storm. And these are going to range from accounting and finance, to marketing, to technology, to human resources, to operations and strategy. The important thing to keep in mind is that you need to come up with a plan now and start acting on it. don't wait until there's pain to start doing something, okay? Don't go bury your head in the sand. But the good thing is, even if there is no recession, and maybe we're all wrong and that everything's going to be great in 2023. I hope that's the case, but it certainly doesn't look that way. But even if there were no recession, all of these moves that we're talking about, they're really strong techniques and strategies that will leave your business in a much better position. So today, let's look quickly at just one thing that you can do that's going to help, and that's focusing on your customers by sending them a video message. Okay, so whether you're a B2B or B2C, fears of a downturn are likely also on your customers' minds as well. And so they're probably contemplating budget cuts right now, or they will be in the near future. And you want to do everything you can to retain these customers. Remember, it costs a lot more to get a new customer than it does to keep the ones you already have. And so you need to be offering them really good customer service. And you also want to emphasize the human touch. So you can do this by connecting with them through a video. Remember that a video is much more engaging, many times more engaging than a text-only email, for example. People are much more likely to watch it and remember it, etc., share it. So think about some of the topics that you could use in this short video, and it does need to be short, 2 minutes or less, to maximize engagement and the possibility that people will watch the whole thing. So, for example, what are some common questions or problems that your customers ask that you hear over and over? Maybe you could address that. Or what is some interesting news in your industry or some trends that you could bring your expert commentary into and add value that way? Or maybe there's a new product or service that you have or are about to launch, and you could share that with your customers. Whatever it is, just be sure that you're truly adding value and not just trying to sell something, okay? Because you want to make sure that your customers are going to be genuinely interested. Now, you need to make sure that in the video that your customers know that this is exclusively for them, that this is not for the public at large, for some, it's not a pitch to potential new customers, that you're developing this content specifically for them because you value them and you want to do something useful for them. And you can make the video private on whatever platform you use, whether that's YouTube or Vimeo or whatever. And depending on the situation and depending on what kind of content you develop, you may also want to follow up with your customers a few days after you send the video. Remember, the goal here is to make your customers feel valued and to deliver something of worth to them. So whether you use the video idea or not, be thinking about how can I bring additional value to my current customers, because they're going to be feeling the pain of the recession as well, and you don't want them to leave. So this is just one short, simple example to get the ball rolling. We'll be talking about a lot of other strategies to survive and thrive the economic downturn in future episodes. So I look forward to seeing you back then. Thanks for listening to Small Biz Flash. I'm your host, Adam Hewitt. If you enjoyed the show, please help me expand its reach by telling one other person about the podcast. I sure do appreciate it, and I'll see you next week.